Hello, my name is Tracy, and this is my podcast, Step Inside My Mind, or since this seems to be a reality expressed in acronyms, SIMM, S-I-M-M. I want this podcast and any comments from fans or anyone simply passing through to be a safe space for survivors and whips. That's works in progress to you. I also want it to be as inclusive as possible. So keeping that in mind, whales, giraffes, bathtubs, tangerines plus, and all hummingbirds within earshot of my voice, just in case no one told you today, fuck the storm. You are the storm. Hello, everyone. I hope this episode finds you well, happy, and peaceful. Peace is an underrated thing, emotion. I know one of the reasons that I'm single is because I enjoy and cherish my peace. It hasn't been a very good week this last week. Most times I can maintain, but it's becoming harder to do so. There's a myriad of things going on that I'm not sure I want to share right now, but suffice it to say, while it could be worse, it could very well be better. Anyway, I'm struggling more and more with what to talk about on here, primarily because I don't know what's working, what isn't. So until I get more feedback from you, avid listeners, I'm just going to drone on about whatever while still maintaining this safe space for trauma survivors, for those who need to find peace. I'm no guardian of human souls. An individual's afterlife is between them and their deity, deities, the universe, or the void. I believe that no one is free until everyone is free, and everyone should be free to do whatever they will, as long as it doesn't hurt themselves or others. It goes without saying that all humans have the right to their own moral compass, to follow their own philosophy of life, and do whatever they need to do to make their goals a reality. Again, without hurting themselves or others. I say all that to help you understand that I'm very much a live and let live kind of person. Again, as long as no one gets hurt. I have some experience with pain, physical, emotional, spiritual. And it is, unfortunately, just as Charlie Baltimore says, you just get used to it. But it still hurts. Nonetheless, it doesn't follow that I want anyone else to experience pain. I go out of my way, and many times to my own detriment, to make sure that nothing I do or say causes anyone any negative feelings, nor physical or mental harm. Do I fail at that? Of course I do. Hello? Human being over here. Back to my point. Live and let live. Yes. So it also means I have no wish to stop you from voting for whoever you want or not voting for whoever you want. I just want to know if you're among those that are not voting for the incumbent president and assuming 45 wins. I'm just wondering what you think, or if you think that helps stop the USA's complicity in the horrific genocides, and indeed the genocides themselves, occurring in Congo, Ethiopia, Somalia, Palestine, and elsewhere. I've read Project 2025, and there's no reason to believe that under this government framework that anything we consider to be not good happening in our country is going to reverse and become good. I mean, is there really a belief that another 45 presidency, well, technically 47, will be better for our fellow human beings being erased from existence here and all over the world? Is that what the thinking is? I mean, those of you, again, who are not happy with what our President of the United States is doing, will you be allowed to speak under a 45/47 administration? Will your speech, your voices be allowed to be heard? Because from what I can tell, after Project 2025 is put into play, what's happening on college campuses around the country is only the tip of the authoritarian iceberg. Is there some hope that 45/47 will backtrack and get his SCOTUS puppets to reverse their Roe v. Wade decision? If indeed there will be any kind of checks and balances that the judicial and legislative branches were designed to enact. Will our schools get better? Will teachers start making a living wage? And will they be free to teach Board of Education designed curriculums or those designed by the presidency? Will policing in the country be less punitive and violent and become more preventative and public safety oriented? Now, I presume there's a lot of defensive thoughts running rampant through some people's heads. But please don't allow that to be the case. I assure you, I'm really asking if there's a backup plan so that we get to keep what little rights we still have and, dare I hope, regain some of those we've lost. I'm open to it. I'm not a fan of the way this administration, or any other for that matter, have turned this hot mess of a country into a raging, out-of-control dumpster fire. I mean, I'm the trifecta of what is considered abhorrent in the U.S. I'm a gay black woman. Of course, I have a personal stake in the outcome of the upcoming 2024 elections. More than anything, I wish the prospects of the LGBTQIA, BIPOC communities, and indeed all other marginalized groups involved more prosperity and less exclusion from S.I.M.M. The way things are being run now is not conducive to that end. It is, however, the system we have until, circling back, there's another way to get there. A different option other than those available to us now. I have some ideas of my own, to be sure. However, I'd like to hear from those who don't want the incumbent to win. How we begin to end the U.S.'s toxic relationship with Israel and make sure our own rights aren't snatched away from us in the process. While I'm heartbroken, devastatingly so, over the tens of thousands of children and women and men being slaughtered and it being accomplished using money and resources paid for with our taxes. I'm not trying to time travel back to the early 20th century. I'm not willing to give up what little freedoms and rights I have left. Sorry, not sorry. So, what's Plan C? I'm asking for a few friends, including myself. Speaking of freedom of voting and speech and things of that nature, I think we can all agree that there are incredibly toxic and dangerous people spreading dangerous rhetoric and misinformation, right? I also know that while there's still some pockets of freedom of speech here and there in this country, that right doesn't cover yelling fire when there isn't one. My interpretation of this means that suggesting or encouraging violent and abusive behavior in any space, but specifically for the purpose of my opinion online, is a no-no. Some social media platforms even have this stated in their community guidelines. So why then are people like Lily Gaddis, Candace Owens, Andrew Tate, and Tomi Lahren, and scores of others who have hopped on this "it's no longer cool to be a decent human being" bandwagon, though I'm confused as to how there's any more room on that fucker, simply allowed to basically yell fire and not only not face any consequences for their words and actions, but continue to be given a platform to continue to do so, and in some cases, celebrated even more. Isn't what they say and do just as, if not more, dangerous as creating a panic and risking life and limb under the false alarm of yelling fire when there isn't one? Isn't continuing to give people like Jeffree Star, James Charles, Jojo Siwa, Colleen Ballinger, and others a platform, and law enforcement continuing to not looking into these allegations to ascertain their validity or discount them as false, risking not only life and limb, but peace of mind, because the alleged groomer/abuser doesn't look like that kind of person? Law enforcement and fans/followers of these questionable people who enjoy the privilege of not having to be held accountable do so because of, and not in spite of, their infamy. And that's not only sad, but sick and twisted as fuck. While I don't condone revenge or retaliation or street justice or anything that puts even these reprehensible bipeds in harm's way, I understand it. Everyone has a limit to the amount of injustice and inequality that's forced down their throats to the point of emotional, physical, and spiritual ruin. I often think of that scene in Silverado when Danny Glover's character, Malachi Johnson, says, "That ain't right. I had enough of what ain't right." While Mal had 2 Henry rifles with which to dispense his justice, the damage done by supporting and celebrating these people isn't as easily dealt with. I'm left wondering if it should be, considering holding them accountable seems to be an insurmountable chore for those hired and elected to do just that. Thanks again for listening, guys. Thanks for your courage in stepping inside my mind for this week. I hope everyone is having the kind of day, week that they need it to be. Peace, love, and hair grease.
Every day I see miserable people doing things they hate just to fit in. I know it's easier to get along peacefully, but have you ever thought about you? Don't know why I keep on doing what I'm told to do when the rules
you for listening. I hope our time spent inside my mind was, at the very least, amusing. At the most, positive-ish, and conducive to whatever you were in search of when you chose to listen. Thank you, from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head, for joining me on my journey. If you're new to this space, welcome. Pay it forward, lift, and place someone else on their path to their best selves. Be kind, be generous, make a dent, and get into as much good trouble as possible. Do you, be you, doobie doobie doo.